I've traveled in Italy, I've never ever seen this recipe anywhere that I've been. And all my Italian friends in Italy, when I ask them if they know such a recipe, just shake their head in bewilderment, because this obviously is something that's a crossover between the culture of Italy and Americans visiting Italy and immigrating to America. So, you know, recipes get invented and they get changed. And you just admire that. You gotta have good muscles when you do this. Look at these beauties. These are vinegar peppers that I made with peppers from my garden. We grow something called corno di toro, or horn of the bull, because the peppers look like horns. And they're delicious this way. My secret ingredient for this, a touch of balsamic vinegar at the end. Delicious. It's high season in the Ciao, Italia garden, and of course we have the usual things that most people have. Tomatoes, zucchini, eggplant, parsley, scallions. But do you have carciofi? I don't think so. Well, maybe you do, but I do. And this is an artichoke plant. Look at this. It's so beautiful to look at with its ragged looking leaves. And these I put in early April. And now it's time for the harvest. And you know, it's a real feat to get artichokes in a cold climate, like New Hampshire, because you have to have a certain number of days where the temperature isn't too hot and it isn't too cold. It's just right. It's the Goldilocks vegetable. So this one is a little bit gone because it's not tight anymore. It's going to just evolve into a beautiful, beautiful purple flower called a thistle, because artichokes are part of the thistle family. But if you come down here with me to this plant, let's look at this one. Now this is a little better because here we have the side shoots, you see, these baby artichokes. I could harvest that now and there would be no thorny spikes inside, no hairy interior. And this one too. But this one I should harvest because it's starting to tell me that it needs to go into the pentola, the pot. So I'm going to come right down here to the gambo. The gambo means the stem. I'm going to take that one and the baby artichoke just to show you the difference. Get that off. Okay, so this is the gambo, the stem. Most people would just whack that off and throw it away, but not the Italians. Oh no. If you just give this a little peel underneath this pale looking skin is a beautiful, vibrant green color that's tender, wonderful to eat. And the baby artichokes, you don't even have to cook. You can just cut those up raw and use them in a salad. There are lots of ways to use artichokes, and they are a beloved vegetable in Italy, especially Rome. I love green beans that are roasted with Parmesan cheese. Delicious. You could sprinkle some sesame seeds over the top too. They'll love that. Here's how to prep a bunch of green beans all at once instead of trying to snip off the ends of each one individually. Line them all up on a cutting board. Get yourself a good knife and then just snip both ends. Easy peasy. One tomato, 2 tomato, 3 tomato, 4, 5 tomato, 6 tomato, and many, many more. Yes, it's tomato season in the garden. And you know, some years are better than others, and this is one of those so-so seasons because we've had a lot of rain, even though it's been very hot, and now we're at high summer, and we're just seeing tomatoes come in. So in this garden, we've got ripening, we've got our salad tomatoes. And those, of course, are great for any kind of salad, a marinated salad, you want to do a BLT, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, we have the plum tomato, and that's the tomato that we want to use for sauce. It's meaty, has less seeds, it's low acid, it's perfect. I can't wait to get the first one, like that one right there. Over there, we have the pianolo, the fabulous pianolo, this cherry tomato with the pointed end. And I'm really happy about that because it's not always easy to get the pianolo because they grow the base of Mount Vesuvius. And of course, this is anything but Mount Vesuvius, but the soil there is perfect. But we have them. We have the pianolo, and they are hung up on strings. Actually, the word pianolo means hanging. And they dry these tomatoes for about a month, and then they cut them in little pieces and they put them in olive oil, and then they have them all winter long. And we've got cherry tomatoes of all different varieties. And well, it's just tomato heaven right now. Here are the first of the tomatoes starting to ripen. This is an Italian variety called Costoluto Fiorentina. It's a wonderful salad tomato. One thing I've noticed about the vegetation here in Liguria is that you got this microclimate because look up there. You got all this bamboo, it grows everywhere. You've got palm trees in Liguria. You've got olive trees, and you've got this, which is ficcidina in Italian. Ficcidina, figs of India, ficcidina. They make a marmalade out of this. To tell you the truth, it's not my favorite, but they also just eat them. They're very pulpy. But it's just amazing to look at growing in these rocks and crags, all of this different vegetation from the bamboo to the ficcidina to the olives and the grapes. Liguria's got it all. Have a compact picture of Liguria. You've got the sea, you've got the cliffs, you've got people living at the edge. This is what living at the edge means. If you look up there and you see how crowded and how compact this town is, and look at the spectacular view that they have. And then around that are all of these terraced cliffs with got olives, you've got grapes, you've got palm trees, pine trees. This is like heaven. And here's my trick for garlic when you have to mince it. Take a couple cloves or however number you're using and just sprinkle some salt over them. Then go shopping or something, come back 20 minutes later and you'll be able to chop it. And you see what's happened here if you look on my board? You see that liquid that's been coming out of the garlic that I chopped after I had the salt on it. So now it makes it almost creamy. See, almost creamy. And that's going to blend very well with this salad. So there is a tip on garlic.
How many top of that?
Running out of boards.
Vieni ancora dietro, se io tutte quelle di là, se le metto di qua.
Bravo, bravo. YouTube. I sent this to you on YouTube.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, I will.
No, ce la stappa.
Non ce la fai perché ormai si è schiacciato con la stampa. Poi vai a stracciare.
Quando arriva al fondo,
This is a typical breakfast in Sicily. It's a brioche, kind of like a sweetbread, and you fill it either with gelato or with sherbet, sorbetto. And it's a great breakfast because in Sicily things are very hot all the time, so this is a great way to cool off. So you don't have eggs and bacon. And my friends here are having, Nancy, what are you having?
Pistachio, stracciatella, and amarena.
And amarena.
Gelato.
And Lazalia, what are you having?
I'm having caramel.
Yeah.
It is still absolutely perfection. I'm
It's so
enjoying every
creamy and
mouthful.
sweet.
Thank you.
And Gaetano is having stracciatella and nocciolo, right? This is nocciolo. Anyway, wish you were here. What do you do on a lazy Sunday afternoon? You get in a boat on Lago di Como and you take a little trip around. This is Modena. This is where we're going to depart from. You get on the ferry, and that's going to take us to Bellagio. And originally, the first place I ever went was right there, Cernobbio. Stayed right in Cernobbio, which was very pretty. But this whole lake, you know, is inverted Y, and it's really beautiful to go along the lake, see some of the beautiful villas, lots of old villas that are still here. I think George Clooney still lives here. I haven't gotten a call from him yet, so I don't know for sure. But anyway, it should be fun. We're going right there to Bellagio, big tourist area. and I've been here before, but I don't remember these gardens. I don't remember walking along these gardens, but they're very pretty. Very colorful, a nice change from all the boutiques and trinket shops that everybody seems to gravitate to. And of course you got the beautiful view there along the seashore. I imagine it would be a wonderful place to live year round. And it never really snows here from what I understand. It's kind of like a little microclimate, Lake Como. Of course I'm going to have to explore the food, see what's around, but being that there's a lake here, obviously we have a lot of fish, especially lake fish, perch, it's a big one. So a nice perch dinner. And oh, by the way, when Italians order fish in a restaurant, they get the whole thing, head and tail. Try it. Sometimes it just freaks people out, but it's a custom, and so you know what you're getting. So I may just order a wonderful perch with lemon and olive oil for lunch. Let me give you a tip. You want to bring something home from the regions and the towns that you visit? Don't buy trinkets, buy spices. These are typical of the ones you'll find. Here's some rosemary. Now I prefer to use fresh herbs, but I'm showing you that these are some of the herbs that you find in Liguria. They particularly like marjorana. Marjorana is used in sauces. You've got thyme, timo. You've got salvia, which is sage. What else do we have here? More salvia. And then you have spices in a package. These are always fun to bring home to people. This is for if you want to make a sauce for a very flavorful and kind of hot spaghetti. So you would add these dried hot red pepper flakes. There's some nice looking spices here. So you have to remember that, of course, Genoa, we're very close to Genoa, was a major port, one of the 4 maritime ports of Italy. And of course, spice trade came through there, so this makes a lot of sense. So I may come back and get some of that later. You can dream. Yes, you can. And it's great to go window shopping in a lot of these places and see just how beautiful Italians do things. Like, for instance, up there, not the pots, but that beautiful blue necklace. You think that's lapis or is it stone? Not quite sure, but it looks lovely. And I also love this beautiful creche down here. Done very well. Oh no, actually that's not a creche. That's from the Bible. That's the Jesus washing the feet of the apostles. Isn't that nice? Here's another good example. These beautiful creches, you see these all over Italy. The tradition really started in Naples, but this is exquisite, the way this is done. It's just the expression of the figures. I think it's really beautiful. Look at how fine that looks. That looks so fine. Get a nice, good night's sleep in that. Beautiful. Uh-oh. You're doing damage.
For my son.
What?
Davide.
Davide?
Davide, sì.
È italiana lei?
Lei è italiana! Lei è
Parlo
italiana.
un po'.
You have made me speak English?
No.
And you speak Italian?
Lei parla italiano. Lei parla italiano. Oh.
See, because my son wanted a tiny flat
wallet.
This is one of the
Feel.
best leather makers we
Firenze.
have in Italy.
Yeah, Firenze.
Firenze.
Oh, I can smell it. It smells so good. Yeah. Can you get me one?
So where are you from at the end?
New York.
lucky people.
And we think
think
you're
so.
the
I
lucky
think you're
people.
I've been there so many times, and I'm from Milano, maybe.
Isn't that pretty? It's a gorgeous blue color. That is really beautiful. Silk. Como's known for its silk, so that's gorgeous. I don't know what's with these bags with the maps on them. I mean, it's okay, but you know, we have GPS. So if you like a bag with a map on it, I guess that's your thing. Beautiful silk scarves.
New York at Italy, and I'm gonna do the one in Milan, which is in February. I do it every.
There it is. Yeah, that's the one.
When you like something.
I suppose I should look and see what the price is. That's lovely.
Like the bear is very.
That is gorgeous. Yep. May have to get that. Let me see how much this one is. Oh, it's only 375 euro. Let's see. That would calculate to 600 and some odd bucks. Not bad. Not bad. Beautiful. Let me check and see what's on my credit card. So how does lettuce grow? Well, you got to start with some seeds. And then we plant them in these little grow pots. And the seeds are then put under grow lights. And then you meticulously watch them. And my husband does all of this. And when they're at this stage, now they're ready to plant. And of course, lettuce needs to be planted in cool weather, not hot weather, because it is not a hot weather crop. So once you get to this stage, you are ready to put them in the ground. So once you do, you have what's called pazienza, and you wait. And then nature rewards you, because look what we have here. This is really one of my very favorite lettuces. Every year I tell my husband Gaetano, did you plant freckles? This is called freckles. It's a romaine type lettuce. And you can see why it's called freckles, because of all of those beautiful little rust dots on the leaves. A lot of people shy away from this thinking, well, is it fresh? Yes, it's not any fresher than this. And these are ready to pick. They look like bouquets of flowers. They're beautiful. And then moving on down, because we like to plant a lot of Italian varieties, here we have something called canasta. And it has a little frilly leaf around the edge. And these are ready to harvest as well. And you see they're all planted on black plastic, and that's so that we don't have to weed. And underneath are soaker hoses to keep everything kind of moist. And here we have something that's a beautiful lettuce. This is something called 4 Seasons. I don't know why, because you really can't plant lettuce in 4 seasons, but it is beautiful. And we have this mixture of lettuces because they look gorgeous in a salad bowl. You don't want just one lettuce all the time. And if you planted your own lettuces, you would have a great variety of them, much better than what you would have in the grocery store. Plus, there are no pesticides on this. Here we have a type of bib lettuce. That's something that everybody knows, and you can find that in your grocery store, or you can find it in your farmer's market. And it's beautiful. And then over here is one of my very favorites, right down at the end. This is something called lingua di canario, which means canary tongue. I don't know why, because it certainly doesn't have a tongue shape, but it reminds me of an oak leaf type of lettuce. And that is also wonderful in the salad bowl. So these should be harvested in an early spring because they bolt when the weather gets hot. And then what you have to do is you have to do a second planting. And that's why you saw me with that beautiful tray of seedlings, because once this is harvested, then we plant the second crop.
Ciao.
I'm finally getting blueberries. After years of trying and having a war with the birds, I decided to net the berries this year. So I have this fine netting, and you can see that the blueberries are starting to turn blue, And in a couple days, I'll be able to pick these. Finally, oh praise the Lord. Well, this is the part where the word biscotto comes from, which means twice cooked. So we baked these once, and now we have to bake them again. But this is the type of cookie that Italians would use for a cafe, or if they're going to have an espresso. This is what that young guy who stayed with me wanted to eat for breakfast. Biscotti.
I wish I could have cookies for breakfast.
I know, don't we all?
Chart with Carmina Burana. Imagine the music at 4 o'clock in Carmina Burana. It woke up the entire neighborhood. I'm sure the people of the Amalfi Coast were not very happy about it. But at 6:45, the sun goes. The view is not the sea, but very similar. Once you overlook in this direction, you actually don't overlook more the Amalfi Coast. Those are the views that you would like to go and maximum will take you there out. Happen to be in this area, try to aim for the 12th of August, because that's the Lawrence night when they do this.
So why exactly is this sauce called Sunday sauce? Well, I'm going to tell you. Probably a lot of you already know. This is a sauce that you made either on Saturday, some did, or you made on Sunday before you went to church. Everybody would come for Sunday dinner.
Last floor we had the servants they lived. We had the kitchen. For this reason the space was small. In case of fire.
Quelli che vogliono fare la pizza, questa pasta qua va anche bene, né? Va bene.
Così. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to help her put the sugar on. She said, wait, I'll show you how I do it.
Prima deve schiacciarlo un po' così si
attacca. Sì. So she does that first because she says the butter is going to adhere. Sì, poco? Pochissimo? No, più?
Ancora un po', così guarda.
Sì. Oh, see, you want it really flat. Oh, sì. She wants it really flat. All right, so there's a little butter there. And this one we'll do correctly. Push it. Va bene così? Sì. Okay. Allora. Maybe if I do a good job, I'll get to eat one. E questa pasta è solo farina?
Farina,
Acqua,
sale
e lievito. Okay, so this is just a basic dough that's made with flour, water, yeast. That's it. Per pizza. No. Solo pane casalinga. Solo questi due, see? Bread is very central to Italian life. A meal without bread is absolutely unthinkable. Behind me is this gorgeous villa, which of course I would love to own but never will, the Villa Melzi, which was built by Napoleon Bonaparte's brother-in-law. Isn't it beautiful? I love the balustrade flanked by 2 lions. And when you walk out your front door, of course, you have this wonderful view of Lake Como and the mountains in the background. Gorgeous.
They've even put drains in, love. Even put drains in.
These magnificent gardens, which belong to the Villa Melzi, has a surprise around every corner. And here's mine. Dante and Beatrice. Beatrice, of course, was Dante's love. And in this statue here, we see them together. Of course, she's got her hand on his, and she's leading him towards Paradiso, to paradise. How do I know this? Because when I was in college, I was fascinated by the Divine Comedy. I read it page by page, very deliberately. And it was difficult because Dante wrote in a type of Italian that was hard to understand, a very poetic type of Italian. But every time I come across an image of Dante like this statue, it just brings me back to those days when I enjoyed reading the Divine Comedy so much, and be able to see that he and the love of his life are here in the Melzi Gardens. So that's a real treat. I'm lucky to be here to be able to, first of all, enjoy this beautiful view and the lake and all of this wonderful foliage and plantings, and also to be able to share it with you, because I know that many of you probably aren't going to be able to get to this region, or you've been to this region, so it's a good reminder of where you've been, kind of like a postcard for you. So that's what I hope to convey in my little trip to Italy this year.
Ciao!
So you want to start with getting yourself some nice bell peppers. You can use red, yellow, green if you want, orange. And then you need to char them. So you can do that several ways. You can put the peppers whole, just like this, on your grill and just blacken them till they're blackened all over, blistered. Or you could put them on a bake sheet, stick them under the broiler in your oven. Take that pepper and just open it up like this, see? You want to keep it together because you're going to be stuffing it. And then don't rinse the pepper. People make that mistake. They rinse the pepper and they rinse all of the flavor away. So instead, just take a paper towel and wipe out the seeds. You may have to vacuum afterwards, but that's all right. So you take out those seeds with a paper towel. Because if you start rinsing them underwater, you're just going to take away a lot of the flavor. And so what if there's a couple seeds left in it? You've eaten worse things than the seeds and peppers. Okay, so once it's like that, once you've got them like that, then you can set them aside and work on the filling. It's going to be an eggplant and cheese filling with capers and olives. We're going to let this go and give this a little bit of salt. We'll correct the seasonings later on as well, so some salt and some pepper. And we really want this to cook down until the eggplant has a little color on it and it's soft. You see how much this eggplant has now cooked down. That's because all of the water has been exuded out of it. And it's got a nice little color to it. So it's going to add really great flavor for the filling. So now we can take this out. So there it is. So now we want to let that cool down a little bit while we flavor that. So we want about a tablespoon of capers. So we're going to put capers in. Now you can buy capers in salt, you can get capers in brine. Then we have some oil-cured olives, and all we did was pit them. And you can buy oil-cured olives in a jar in the grocery store, or sometimes you find them in an open salad bar. So we're going to add that. That's going to add beautiful flavor. Black oil-cured olives. And then we have some plum tomatoes, because wow, at the foot of Mount Vesuvius, plum tomatoes are the best. So we're going to add those. This is going to be enough filling for about 8 peppers, 8 beautiful looking peppers. And then we want some fresh basil. Look at how pretty this is looking now. I'm telling you, my friend Larry, who does dishes for us on Ciao Italia, told me something yesterday that really just hit home. He said, you know, Italian food is so pretty, and he's absolutely right. So we're going to mix that, and now we're going to add some fresh mozzarella cheese. Another product that comes from Campania. Yeah, we're staying right there south. So this is just 1 ball of mozzarella cheese that we have just cut up in little pieces. See? So we're going to add that. That goes in. And then we want some bread, so you can use stale bread for this. So any bread that you have left over, I usually just keep it in a bag in the freezer, and then I use it when I need it for whatever recipe I'm making. So just bread that you have lightly toasted in some olive oil and then diced up, see, like this. So you want to add some bread that acts as a binder for this. And mix that in. And while you're doing that, of course, the bread was going to absorb these other flavors from the tomatoes and the olives and the capers. Okay, that's looking good. So now we can clear the decks, fill the peppers. So just brush the dish rather, with olive oil. See? Okay. Then here are our peppers. So this recipe will serve 8 easily, maybe even more, depending on the size of your pepper. So they're laid out flat. We took all of the skin off, as you saw. And now we can take some of this mixture and put them right in the pepper, see, just like that. Don't overstuff them because they'll split. So just, you know, a couple heaping tablespoons, and then gently, gently roll them. If they split while you're doing this, don't worry, you can always fix it in the bowl. So there is one. And we're going to put something on top of that before we bake them. And here's our, they're very delicate, so you got to be careful here. So here's our second one. Oh my God, I have enough filling for an army. Again, just roll them gently. There's 2. So now the next thing we have to do is combine some breadcrumbs. So here we have some fresh dried breadcrumbs. About a cup, I would say, depending on how many peppers you're doing. And here is a 1/2 cup of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, right here. Remember, that's that cow's milk cheese that comes from Emilia-Romagna and has such a wonderful flavor when it's young, and then as it ages, it's great for grating. So we're going to mix the cheese and the breadcrumbs together. Depending on the size of the peppers, too, will determine how much of this you use. Okay, that's looking good. And now a drizzle of olive oil. Oven's on, 350. Here we go. It could not be a more perfect day in this garden. This is the Ciao Italia garden. And guess what time it is? It's time to pick that plant that has 9 lives. And I mean zucchini. So no Italian garden would be without zucchini. So let me show you what we have, because we have many types of zucchini here. And we always kind of plant the the Italian varieties. So this one here, see, is Romanesco. And I am going to harvest it. And when you get zucchini in your garden, first of all, this is very prickly. These are very prickly, so you should wear gloves. But you see what's happening here. You can see the different stages of zucchini. Look at this little one. And the flower here is kind of just starting to come. Here's one that's open. Now these flowers, Italians love to stuff. And when you get them, I don't want to take that, otherwise my husband will kill me because it's just starting. When you get these, you want to look inside. You see that right there? That's called the pistil. You have to take that out. And then you can stuff the flowers with all kinds of things like cheese and meats and other vegetables. But when they're this size, that's when you want to get them. Ah, there it is. Gorgeous. And that's the size you want because now you have very few seeds. It's not watery. And it's great for doing all kinds of things. And this is why I say zucchini has 9 lives, because what can you do with it? Well, you can saute it. You can fry it. You can make it into soup. You can grate it. You can put it in meatloaf. There's so many ways you can use it. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this today, nella cucina. So you and I need to go nella cucina for zucchini with 9 lives. So how does lettuce grow? Well, you got to start with some seeds, and then we plant them in these little grow pots. And the seeds are then put under grow lights, and then you meticulously watch them. And my husband does all of this. And when they're at this stage, now they're ready to plant. And of course, lettuce needs to be planted in cool weather, not hot weather, because it is not a hot weather crop. So once you get to this stage, you are ready to put them in the ground. So once you do, you have what's called pazienza, and you wait. And then nature rewards you, because look what we have here. This is really one of my very favorite lettuces. Every year I tell my husband Gaetano, did you plant freckles? This is called freckles. It's a romaine type lettuce. And you can see why it's called freckles, because of all of those beautiful little rust dots on the leaves. A lot of people shy away from this thinking, well, is it fresh? Yes, it's not any fresher than this. And these are ready to pick. They look like bouquets of flowers. They're beautiful. And then moving on down, because we like to plant a lot of Italian varieties, here we have something called canasta. And it has a little frilly leaf around the edge. And these are ready to harvest as well. And you see they're all planted on black plastic, and that's so that we don't have to weed. And underneath are soaker hoses to keep everything kind of moist. And here we have something that's a beautiful lettuce. This is something called 4 seasons. I don't know why, because you really can't plant lettuce in 4 seasons, but it is beautiful. And we have this mixture of lettuces because they look gorgeous in a salad bowl. You don't want just one lettuce all the time. And if you planted your own lettuces, you would have a great variety of them, much better than what you would have in the grocery store. Plus, there are no pesticides on this. Here we have a type of bib lettuce. That's something that everybody knows, and you can find that in your grocery store, or you can find it in your farmer's market. And it's beautiful. And then over here is one of my very favorites, right down at the end. This is something called lingua di canario, which means canary tongue. I don't know why, because it certainly doesn't have a tongue shape, but it reminds me of an oak leaf type of lettuce. And that is also wonderful in the salad bowl. So these should be harvested in an early spring because they bolt when the weather gets hot. And then what you have to do is you have to do a second planting. And that's why you saw me with that beautiful tray of seedlings, because once this is harvested, then we plant the second crop. So let me get a head of this lettuce to put in our salad bowl. Now look at this head. Isn't this beautiful? And It's starting to head up. Look there, right in the center. And look at how fresh and fragile, actually, these leaves are. So I'm going to go right down and take that right through. I do. Yes, I do. Look at that. You could carry that as a wedding bouquet. And it still has its root system. So take all the dirt off of this, and then you want to sit this just like this in a bowl of cold, cold water. And when we're making salad in the kitchen, I'm going to give you a few tricks about what do you do with limp lettuce leaves. I learned that trick from Gaetano, who of course planted all of this. But this is gorgeous, and I think now it's time for you and I to go nella cucina to make some wonderful Italian-type salads. Now that you've been in the garden and you've seen all the different kinds of lettuces that we grow in the Ciao Italia garden, I'm going to make some really neat salads for you today. So let me give you a little tour of things you could use in a salad. I'm not saying that you have to use these exact ones. But here is romaine lettuce, and it's nice to buy it when it's really crispy and it's a tight head. So romaine you can find in the grocery store. And you want to just take the leaves apart, wash them and dry them before you put them in your salad bowl, because otherwise the dressing will not adhere to it at all. We're going to add some fennel, which is a typical Italian vegetable that's always in a salad and is often just eaten by itself as a digestivo, something just to settle your stomach after you've eaten a big meal. And we're going to add this, radicchio. Radicchio is becoming very, very popular now. Not so much popular long ago because people didn't know what to do with this. So this can be used raw in a salad. In Italy, they even grill this and eat it as a side dish. It has a slightly bitter taste, but it also adds nice color to the salad. And then we're going to add some fresh spinach. So we have some fresh spinach leaves here that have all been cleaned. But then we're going to kind of dress the salad up a little bit and add some figs. Aren't they gorgeous? Now I do have a fig tree. However, the figs are just starting to come and I've got to water it every day to make sure I get them by September. But if you don't have access to fresh figs, you could always use dried figs. These are dried figs. You can buy them in the grocery store. I would plump them up in a little bit of warm water first because they tend to be very hard when you buy them in the store. So these have been sitting in water. I don't know if you know this, but capers grow in rocks and crags, and you see them mainly in the walls. And here in Umbria, I've noticed that this caper bush is growing inside this wall. And you probably know the capers from Sicily, the ones that come from Pantelleria. Beautiful capers, but look at the size of these. And these are you harvest these in the fall. And then you put them in olive oil or you put them in vinegar. And you let them steep in the vinegar for a while, and then you can use them in your cooking. So I like to use them with meats, sometimes with vegetables, and I love them if you do them with pasta and tuna. Absolutely delicious. So this is what a caper bush looks like, and it grows in very strange places, as I say, walls and crags and anywhere that you have kind of a little drier climate. So the next time you buy a jar of capers, you'll remember that this is what the plant looks like. There's a little one just coming out right now. Capiti. One thing I've noticed about the vegetation here in Liguria is that you got this microclimate because look up there. You got all this bamboo. It grows everywhere. You've got palm trees in Liguria. You've got olive trees, and you've got this, which is fichidinha in Italian. Fichidinha, figs of India, fichidinha. They make a marmalade out of this. To tell you the truth, it's not my favorite, but they also just eat them. They're very pulpy. But it's just amazing to look at growing in these rocks and crags, all of this different vegetation from the bamboo to the fichidinha to the olives and the grapes. Liguria's got it all. it's Thursday, it's got to be market day in Italy because usually market days are Thursday and Saturday. Today is Thursday and we're at the Albinelli Central Market, which is here in Modena, where you can find everything, and I mean everything, from vegetables and fruits, cheeses, traditional foods of the region, flowers, eggs. Well, it's just a party. I'm having a cooking class today with a bunch of students, and one of the things that we're going to make is an involtini di vitello, which means a little veal roll, like a braciole. And guess what we're putting in the center? Right there, carciofi, because it's the season for artichokes right now. It's the fall, and you see what it says there, carciofi teneri, which means that they're very tender. They're a little bit spiny, but not like our globe variety. So we're gonna peel those back, take out the heart. We're gonna roll that up to be part of our stuffing for the involtino. When you're in a market like this, you can get inspiration for just about anything. So don't ever say you can't cook when you're in a market in Italy. Bread, always on the table in an Italian kitchen. You never would think of having a meal without bread. And the breads of Italy differ from region to region. Some are coarser, some are softer, some aren't very good. But here you see the typical bread there? See that elongated, the two long, kind of joined together in the center? That's called coppia. And it's a bread it's very typical for this region. And the breads tend to be very fluffy in texture. They're more cottony inside than they are coarse. And that's the kind of bread they have here in this region. Here you have porcini mushrooms, dried porcini mushrooms. Look at how beautiful they are. I'll give you a little tip about buying them. If you're in a market like this, no problem. You see them, the caps are pretty much the mushroom. But sometimes you'll buy them in a package and you'll get a lot of stems and no cap. So you want to be very careful about that. So if you are in Italy, buy them loose like this. I'm a little sad about this case because you can get prepared foods. See, now look at, she's getting squash already cooked. And you don't even have to take a whole squash home and cut it up and prepare it. You can get it already cooked. But you know what the pity of that is? You miss the whole experience of bonding with food. I like to cook food from scratch because then you appreciate what you're doing. You know where that food is coming from. Not that this isn't good, I'm not saying that. But even when I look at prepared foods, I say, you know, they're a little dull looking compared to what you do fresh at home. But for some people, this is a way of life, and things are changing in Italy as much as they're changing at home. Pasta to go. Look at that. I guess my job is secure.